I think it's still just kind of crazy what certain people could just get away with.
I was gonna go to court before I got high. I was gonna pay my child support, but then I got high.
He didn't do that, as of course now there's a big discussion about what is happening with the law enforcement of this country and whether or not they are actually doing a good job, as a lot of people now have some very serious doubts, specifically when it comes to the leadership of the FBI, that are being doubted more than ever, especially after their latest appearance on Fox News, which definitely is bringing up more questions than answers about important stories of the decade that it looks like they have made their minds up about. After a briefing, what's really going on here, as of course there's a lot to discuss here, and we're going to be discussing it in this particular video, so subscribe, click the notification button, of course there's a lot to get into, specifically when it comes to this big task that these guys have, which is a huge responsibility, as it's pretty clear here. There was legal lawfare used and abused by the previous administrations to the highest extent of violating the Constitution and the law. And will these guys be the ones reining it in and actually holding people accountable? Well, so far, it looks like they are just keeping up with the status quo. They're acting like FBI Derek, acting like FBI agents. As of course, after that disastrous Fox News interview, we haven't really gotten a lot of statements for them, as of course now we are seeing them officially communicate through Twitter, as Kash Patel just announced that him and his partners confirmed today that the FBI arrested a dual U.S. government citizen that was allegedly planning to firebomb the United States Embassy in Tel Aviv, Israel. As a lot of people are responding to this, the first response here is, who cares about what's going on in Israel? This is America. Remember, America first. Things are rest of peace. And we are dealing with embassies and consulates that is considered American territory. So therefore, it is dealing care of America here. A lot of other people are saying, glad this guy was stopped. We have another person, John Rich, saying cuff him and stop him. And then of course the latest comment here. And then you see a plethora of these comments everywhere. Any updates on the Epstein case? Of course, this is the issue that has been plaguing this Trump administration, with a lot of Americans expressing some very serious concerns about what is really going on behind the seat of power. A lot of people are still waiting for thousands of children to get justice here, and sadly, let's just be honest with ourselves, they haven't gotten the justice, and there's a lot of predators out there that are still roaming the streets and committing horrible crimes against Dan Bongino also decided to update all of us, writing on Twitter, thanks for following this account and allowing us to update you about what's going on with your FBI. And he gave us a few updates about them investigating the cocaine that was found at the White House, the DC pipeline investigation, I think is the most important one mentioned here, but then he talks about a lot of other stuff about the leaks and people going to journalists, and these are okay, I would say subpar of importance comparatively to the bigger issues at hand here. Comparatively to the more serious issues at hand here, with powerful billionaires, private brokers, politicians, Silicon Valley executives, big banksters that were part of an extortion, racketeering, and conspiracy ring involving small children that we have still yet to have gotten any kind of legitimate answers, timelines on, or any kind of justice. The DC pipeline thing I think is the biggest one, because I think it definitely unravels potentially a bigger conspiracy at foot here. But again, Dan Bongino and Kash Patel coming out and saying, yeah, two of the biggest conspiracies of our time, the Trump assassination attempt and the and the Epstein saga. Oh, we figured it out. Don't worry, trust us. It's what the government told us it was before. It's okay. Yeah, we're fine. We're from the government. You don't trust us? What's wrong with you? They didn't say it that way, but they could have. But here's the most interesting part here. After this kind of disastrous Fox News interview, we have Dan Bongino saying the director and I have done only one media interview together, and it was a doozy, and it was eye-opening, and it was concerning. The vast majority Americans who are saying, whoa, 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 whoa. What's going on here? This is weird. He goes on and it says, we decided early on to limit our media footprint overall in order to keep the attention on the work being done. That's good. That's, of course, the same can't be said for Pam Bondi and Christy Noem that have been doing a lot of these interviews to the point where some people have expressed frustration with it, saying, hey, okay, enough. These guys have a little bit. Well, I think there's I think there's a middle ground here that I think this administration is still trying to figure out. Because I think interviews are important to do here to understand what's really going on at the seats of power and to really understand what's happening in all these high-level government positions. He says, there are both positives and negatives to this approach. We have chosen to communicate in writing on this platform to fill some of the inevitable information vacuums. I try to read as much of your feedback as possible, but the workday is busy, and my office is skipped with limited phone access. In response to feedback, both positive and negative, from our interview last week, we will be releasing more information, which further will clarify answers to some questions asked in the interview. Is that going to be the end yourself? Is that going to be the Trump assassination stuff? We hope so. Thank you for all your support. God bless America and all those who defend her. Trump released another statement on his own personal account talking about how he always speaks the truth. And that wasn't received well at all either. And there's no responses here. They're eye-opening. Before telling you about these responses, we want to tell you about WeAreChange.shop. Sign up on our email list, get 15% off. We got some great products available to use. Some of the products I have with me here. And of course, we have our Father's Day bundle. I think it's important to be there for your loved ones, for your parents. I think the father's role is incredibly important, and I think there needs to be more of a positive relationship between people's fathers and them. And that sometimes means you forgiving, you being the bigger person, and if you have a strained relationship with maybe your father, maybe get them the Father's Day bundle and try to rekindle some of that relationship with the person that brought you into this life. I think regardless of kind of circumstances here, it's always better to forgive. And if you want to forget, sure, but family is something that is, of course, a touchy subject for a lot of people. I think it's important to forgive, and I think for Father's Day, this is a bundle that we created that truly will bring a lot of joy to men. We got the essential fatty, fish oil, really great for men. Ashwagandha, really, really good for men's testosterone. So if you got a man in your life who's becoming a soy boy, needs more testosterone, have a conversation with them and your medical professional about ashwagandha. Not everyone should take ashwagandha, especially if you're pregnant. Like some men are these days, which is weird. Magnesium mist, I really like it. I started to use it every time I go to sleep. I spray some on my feet, or if I have any kind of strained muscles, I usually put it on the muscle, and that magnesium is great. If your skin gets itchy after getting some magnesium on you, it means you're kind of magnesium deficient, as one healthcare practitioner told me. And then we have our Make America Not Fat Again hat, a great hat. Again, this bundle worth way more. It's worth $126, but you can get it now for $71. I think we only have a few of them left, and it's a great gift. It's a great package, and it's just a great way to say, thanks, Dad. Appreciate you for bringing me into this world. And if your dad taught you any kind of personal responsibility or the ethics of hard work, make them even more. That's rare these days. We need better men, better fathers out there, and less kind of the beat down and destruction of the father figure which you have seen in Western civilization, which is probably why it's collapsing and not doing so well. Anyway, let's get back to these comments here, because after Dan Bongino released the statement, he is kind of hinting at here, but he got a lot of flack, and it looks like it did affect him, since Dan Bongino also stopped following and unfollowed Jeremy from the Quartering, who simply asked, hey, can you tell us what happened at the briefing? And Dan Bongino decided to unfollow Jeremy from the Quartering after he asked that. I asked that, but he never was following me before, but I got to check. But, the initial comments, Epstein files, release them in the list, everything. Pretty clear here from Tess T. Nichols, Brown, PhD, sounds like a very professional person. We got another person saying we didn't vote for reform, we voted for accountability. Dan Bongino's statement here, he talks about we're going to reform everything, saying it's unimaginable that there will be zero accountability for Epstein. Clearly coordinated assassination attempts, coordination. There was even Russia spying, revealing some more. Why haven't you or the director rehired the whistleblowers here that were fired in the last 4 years? Yeah, that's a good one. As of course, bad people were promoted, and Kash Patel did promote a very controversial person. A lot of with a whole bunch of staff and a whole bunch of people that are your political enemies. I would want to see more firing. We saw one guy being forced to retire, but again, that guy gets a pension. And that guy was the one that was hiding that Epstein files, according to all the sources. That guy was they are applauding him. Yeah, he's a good guy. No! Why does he retire with a pension? Criminal investigation. Obstruction of justice. Oh, look at him. Yeah! What are you doing? Fire people. There's a lot of awful people that literally have politicized the field office that I believe should be held responsible. Whistleblowers, bring them back in. People that were fired, bring them back in. The lady that was at the FBI and didn't want to lie about the Hunter Biden laptop story when the FBI literally gagged her, figuratively legally gagged her. Promote her, not the guy that was tormenting the J6. Power to the FBI. Why is he the FBI field officer? I don't understand it. Why is he promoted? And why aren't the good people? As of course, that'll get even more insight into just how awful this FBI continues to be here, as James O'Keefe asked the government for documents about why he was raided, why his newsroom was raided in this kind of communistic Orwellian purge of journalists. Listen, there was a chill factor going on where specifically a lot of people were like, oh crap, they're going to bust down my door because I'm talking about stuff that they don't want me to talk about. And there were specific instances where the FBI said, yeah, you're not going to talk about where this sickness came from. You're not going to talk about the origin. Oh, you're not going to talk about the Hunter Biden laptop story. You do. You're in a world of trouble. You're going to talk bad about Joe Biden, you're in a world of trouble. You better love him, you better worship him, or else. That was the type of vibe that was going around there. Those guys are still in charge. Those guys are still processing the paperwork. Those guys are still in power. And again, I understand it's a big ship, steering it in different directions. It's difficult, but I would expect at least a little bit of firings. No firings. One guy gets to retire with pensions after he was clearly obstructing justice. And now we still don't have any answers on what exactly happened here. And now we have our people saying, hey, tell us why the previous guys arrested us and stormed our newsroom. And this is James O'Keefe on the Timcast show. And James O'Keefe talked about, this is what I got. This is what I got in return. Just a fully redacted document.
Are you effing kidding me?
Hold on, Jason. Is that true that phones can receive emails? That's one of the few parts that wasn't redacted in the statement that James O'Keefe got from this current FBI.
I guess phones can receive emails, Tim.
Wow.
So they even redacted the little footnotes in the sentence.
Look at you.
They redacted the numbers. Now this is not child porn or Epstein. This is not Afghanistan drug traffickers. This is a newsroom being raided by the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and the United States of America can't release one word of the reason why they did it after admitting there was no crime.
Yeah.
And you expect me to have faith in this Department of Justice?
So this is DOJ under Donald Trump, and this is what they put up.
Correct.
So Dan, Cash, or Pam could unredact it and send it.
The United States has the authority to do that.
Babies, keep them
So
safe.
what is in it?
Call Pam. Call Cash.
It's like an infomercial.
These people have asked 10,000 favors a day. I'm not going to add. If the system of justice depends upon us, I don't think the system works.
Hold on. Yeah. It's not working, and clearly something is wrong here. Clearly, again, Donald Trump represents change. There was a lot of really bad abuse of power under the previous administration that were doing everything they could to stop Trump hitting and anyone right of center that had any kind of inkling of success. Let's just be real with ourselves here. The fact that those people are still being paid by me, the fact that my tax dollars are still going to them, the fact that there's still even lack of any kind of accountability and transparency here. I mean, Cash Patel telling FBI staffers to ignore Elon Musk's email is not a good look. This doesn't breed confidence into a system that already a lot of people had a lot of skepticism on. And again, I think the skepticism is justified here. I think a lot of us have a lot of unanswered questions here. Specifically, also what just happened to Virginia. I mean, if you were the FBI, if you were watching these videos when all these stories were kind of breaking, we were saying, hey, send someone from the FBI there immediately. She said she got hit by a bus. There's conflicting reports. You still want to get her testimony. She said she got 3 days to live. Send someone there and figure it out so we know what's going on here. As we have now the lawyer and the father saying, hey, we got some questions about what's going to happen here to Virginia. Prince Andrew still is walking around free. I mean, if you're the director of the FBI, you have so many strings to pull right now. You have so many people to research, to investigate when it comes to the crime of the decade. Seeing what Dan Bongino just posted, I don't see them being investigated. Right? I see a lot of other kinds of things. And again, it's not easy to have the job of the FBI. I can only imagine the stress, the pressures, the favors that people are always asking you, and just the horrible type of stuff that you have to deal with here. But again, the people are not going to forget about that file. Now, Dan Bongino looks like he's hinting at it. Because again, he could come out, and it could be something completely different. It could be like, oh, I'm giving you guys more information about this other topic I talked about that's totally unrelated to the two controversial topics that, of course, a lot of people expressed a lot of skepticism for based on their briefings. What happened during those briefings? What convinced you otherwise? What the evidence, what information provided to us that should be released to the general public? That, of course, will convince us. And again, there's a possibility here. Very slim. There's a possibility here that they could be legitimately convinced. And I don't know. I say slim because how can you say Epstein took himself out? I just don't get it. I just don't understand it. It makes no sense at all. It doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. Everyone who has a pulse, everyone who has some inkling of intelligence and IQ is saying, no way. No way. No way. It's impossible. What do they see that change their minds? That's the question that's on everyone's minds, and I hope it gets answered.
See you soon.
And I hope the white pill. Think of this white pill, black pill. Black pill moment here. Compromise. The state's too powerful. They got threatened, and of course the old FBI's in charge. These guys are only the victims. That's a black pill. White pill. Somehow, some way, these guys were actually convinced. No. Yeah. As we were told it was. And they're still good guys, and they're still working behind the scenes, and they're still doing their best. That's the white pill. Huge white pill that is even less likely is that all of this is a ruse because there's going to be some bigger criminal charges against some of the people involved here, and they don't want to tip them off, and they want to show that they're playing ball, but they're going to have some big cases coming ahead, and some big charges, and some big arrests coming that, of course, are going to be major, galvanizing, and huge. That right there. That's the huge right now. Chances, the wider the bill, the less chances that it actually is possible. White pill situation, not that likely so far. I got a gray black pill personally myself here from following this story very closely for a very long time. Now, let's pray for the safety and the courage of all of these men to do the right thing. during extremely difficult times. I think we can all agree to that. And if you agree with that, share this video. I appreciate everyone taking care of their fathers. Get the Father's Day bundle. We are Change Doc Shop. Stay tuned for more all of year exclusively on youtube.com/.
In a major breaking announcement, the CDC and RFK Jr. have removed the COVID vaccine from certain recommended lists for pregnant women and healthy children. That is, they're saying they don't recommend it. This is huge. Now, of course, the narrative from the corporate machine has been that RFK Jr. is anti-vaccine. He's not. But he's making a lot of changes in HHS and the CDC pertaining to vaccinations. If anybody who was, let me just say this, if you were paying attention during the election cycle, what did we learn of RFK Jr.? He's pro-vaccine. He thinks there should be better testing due to the risk of environmental toxins in any medical instance. And he felt that the COVID vaccines specifically were brought out too quickly. That was Trump. That was Operation Warp Speed. Literally, Trump was trying to crank out these mRNA vaccines right away. I don't blame him, but hindsight is 2020. So let me just tell you guys, the people always going to be, Donald Trump is the fault for the lockdowns. No, he's not. Well, Donald Trump did Operation Warp Speed. So what? I'm fine with that. I am sick of everybody wants to try and remember the past as if they knew everything all the time. We didn't. Okay? Some of the influencers, the personalities I respect the most, were dead wrong on COVID. Prominent conservatives, I ain't throwing anybody on the bus, myself included, we were wrong on a lot of things. Heavens, look at us, entertaining the possibility that the virus emerged from a wet market. Of course, we certainly did entertain lab leak, and we're a bit agnostic on the whole thing, but now we look back and we're like, it's pretty obvious it was a lab leak. How do we all get these things wrong? So the first thing I'll say is, Trump said 2 weeks to slow the spread, and libertarians rail on him for it. But he didn't shut all the states down. That was Democratic governors. In fact, he called for the reopening not too long after. He's not a saint. He got things wrong. But you're allowed to get things wrong in pursuing the best choice. So when the vaccines were being rolled out, Trump thought this is going to be a way to deal with this. And I don't know, maybe he was wrong. I do think it was a bit overzealous in that many of these media organizations were being heavily funded by these large pharmaceuticals through sponsorships and advertising. And this resulted in a narrative machine that was pro-drug. This is what RFK Jr. has been concerned about. Not vaccines themselves. He gets in office and is immediately like, we need to get more people to get the MMR vaccine. And all of these anti-vaxxers are like, what's going on? Why is RFK Jr. doing this? And I was like, did y'all actually listen to anything he said? And then they say, yeah, but the media said he was secretly anti-vaxxer, was holding these views. And that they quoted him from 10 years ago, and they misattributed him to... I sat down with the guy. I talked to the guy. He was like, I like vaccines, it's just some were rushed. And I'm like, oh, okay, sure. I like vaccines too, I think vaccines are great. Here's a story from the Daily Mail. Millions of Americans are set to no longer be routinely offered the COVID vaccine. HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. officially revealed today that the shot would no longer be recommended for healthy children and healthy pregnant women. Realizing the shift, he said the vaccine has been removed from the CDC's immunization schedule, a guideline used by health providers to determine which vaccines children should receive and when. RFK Jr. said he couldn't be more pleased with the announcement, which has been in the works for 2 weeks, adding that it was common sense and good science. In a video accompanying the post, he said last year the Biden administration urged healthy children to get another COVID shot, despite the lack of any clinical data to support the repeat booster strategy for children. The move reverses previous guidance, which had recommended the COVID vaccine to everyone aged 6 months and older. The recommendation for the COVID vaccine for young and healthy individuals has long been criticized, given that the groups face a low risk of hospitalization and death from the virus. There are also concerns over side effects linked to the shots, including myocarditis or heart inflammation, which is rare, but slightly more common among young adults. And fears have been raised that pregnant women are not benefiting from the vaccine, although studies show it is safe for the group and doesn't raise their risk of miscarriage, stillbirth, or birth defects. Critics say that although it comes at a time when trust in health officials is low, the change is sending a confusing message about vaccines. Wait. That's pretty... Shut up! If a medical professional says, we've gone over the data, and we're saying no to this. But people might now not trust me. Shut up. That's so stupid. This is why YouTube, you're stupid. Okay, YouTube, you're morons. Right? All that matters is individual doctor recommendations. And YouTube was banning people and shutting things down, and so were these other social platforms, because people were talking to their doctors, okay? RFK Jr., we're not playing this political game, and I blame you, YouTube. I blame you. Screw yourselves, okay? Because now RFK Jr., who's on the other side of the issue, is in HHS, and he's saying, we don't need this, and it's become politics, and it's your fault, because you are shutting down doctors, literal doctors, in their offices saying, here's what I recommend. I went to the Libertarian Convention. They had a Libertarian guy on stage. And they were all these Libertarian candidates were like, we will not mandate vaccines. Woo! Everyone claps and cheers. One guy says, so I can't remember exactly what he said, but he was like, listen, we had people who were sick from COVID and they were dying. When we began to roll out vaccines, the numbers went down. We saw less people dying. That's just what we saw. Boo! They booed him. And I'm like, why are they booing him? He's a medical doctor telling you what he saw. I don't understand. He goes, he's on stage, he's like, I am not saying anyone should be forced to get a booster. I'm saying this is what we saw. Boo! I'm like, y'all are nuts. Okay? And it's YouTube's fault. It's the world you want to live in. You want to roll around with the pigs? Fine, get covered, if you know what I mean. When you decided to make it political and interfering in the science, this is what you get. Morons. Here's what I did. I called a doctor. I said, hey doc, should I get the vaccine? And doc said, no. And I was like, really? Well, I was 35. Was I 35? Crazy, right? I was 35, and he's like, you're a 35-year-old male, you're not in a risk category, and you should let other people at risk get these vaccines and not take up any of the time. Like, the general idea from my doctor was like, look, man, we don't want a bunch of young, healthy people coming in to get vaccines when older people need them. And I was like, okay, click. And then I go online and I see all this psychotic, garbled nonsense. Mandates? You are forced to get it? You're nuts. And then I'm like, what am I supposed to do? My doctor said, don't get it. He said, you don't need it. He said, you're young. Like, even if you get sick, the risk factors are super low. I got sick. I got real sick. What did I do? Monoclonal antibodies. Another FDA-approved treatment. Here's the point. Here's why I'm pissed off. RFK Jr. gets in. He's up there with Jay Bhattacharya, Dr. Marty McCary, and they said they're going over the data. There's no good clinical research to suggest children should get it. I say, okay, moving on. But YouTube has turned this into politics. I am so angry with these people. I despise you scumbags so much. Because this should literally just be a doctor's recommendation. But you shut that down. We had doctors coming out and giving their recommendations. You banned them. You banned them. Now, what are you going to do about it? You're going to cry? You're going to censor people? Well, this is the HHS. This is the federal government telling you outright. So go cry now. You're going to ban people now? Man, you will get sued so fast, your head will spin. I'd like to see it. I'd like to see YouTube take action against people for now agreeing with RFK Jr. Start suspending people. Because then we'll take some little legal action and say, now hold on there a minute. The highest authority in healthcare in this country, in the health of the American people, has given its clinical recommendation. And YouTube chooses to shut that down? Scumbags. That's what they were doing the whole time. Let's read. Dr. Bhattacharya said, that ends today. It's common sense and it's good science. Dr. McCary said there's no evidence that healthy kids need it today, and most countries have stopped recommending it to children. There are more than 73 million people in the U.S., about 1 in 5 individuals who are under 18 years old, 5.3 million pregnancies, blah, blah, we get it. So what's the game now, YouTube? If liberals go on the platform and recommend the vaccine either way, you're going to ban them? No, we know you won't. Let's try this. A doctor. There's going to be tons of liberal doctors now. Guarantee it. They're going to be going on YouTube and saying, HHS is wrong. You need these vaccines. And you know what YouTube's going to do? Nothing. Because they're scumbags. Because they made it political. And they'll keep it political. I know for a fact that with RFK Jr. stuff, you are going to see hearings. There's going to be liberals going on MSNBC being like, this is just completely irresponsible. I mean, children need vaccines to keep them safe. And YouTube's going to be like, yep, you were allowed to defy the the medical guidance of HHS. But you weren't back then, when they were mandating a drug for people. This is the scumbaggery of social media censorship. I don't know or care, listen, about RFK Jr., what their recommendations are. I do the research, I watch the news, I try to figure out what makes the most sense, and then I make a decision based on my knowledge on issues and my doctor's recommendation. Everybody was saying, Tim, take ivermectin, take ivermectin. I was like, I don't want it. I went over all the data. I found nothing compelling. And then they said monoclonal antibodies are FDA approved. Here's how it works. And I said, okay, I got it. Cured me right up. Cured me right up. FDA approved. They say these people are like, the only reason ivermectin's not approved is because then they wouldn't be able to get their emergency authorization for the vaccine. And I'm like, monoclonal antibodies are a treatment that's FDA approved. What are you talking about? And that just like went over everybody's head. Yo, I'm not going to sit here and play stupid games. I'm not a doctor. I said it before, I'll say it again. RFK Jr., congratulations. He put on a thing. Okay, fine, whatever, I guess. Dude, you go to the doctor gives you medication. You don't even know what it's called. Right? So I'm like, I'm not an expert in this. If I don't trust a person, I'm not going to listen to him. If I trust him, I'll listen to him. Anyway, YouTube, you're nuts. I'm going to leave it there. Smash the like button. Share the show with everyone. Stay tuned. We got more coming up for you. And you can follow me on X and Instagram at TimCast. We'll see you all shortly.
If these women really think that a guy just looking at them means he's willing to take them out and court them and do all this stuff for them, then I have led a whole lot of women on in my life, really without saying a single word. Modern women are obsessed with telling men how to be men. You probably already noticed this, but it's like they have no respect for what men actually are. Yeah, and these women want to reshape masculinity into something they can manage, control, and feel superior to. And the second you push back, they'll call you weak, insecure, or say that you're not a real man. And now we've got another example. A woman who wants to be approached, but it's not happening. So naturally, her solution is to lecture men about how to be men again. Check it out.
Why are men not confident enough to walk up to women now? Say shout out to the guys who are confident enough to walk up to women. The masculinity on earth has diminished drastically that guys don't even come up to you anymore. They'll just stare at you from a distance. As a woman who's trying to embody her feminine energy, you're not going to catch me going up to the guy. You're just not. We can just stare at each other. Shout out to the guys who are confident enough to walk up to women because guys don't do that anymore. If God were to guarantee that your 20th person would be the love of your life, you would be so happy to be rejected by all 19. So why are men not confident enough to walk up to women now? We don't chase. We signal like, you can come up to me now. But all men do is just look at you now. And of course, like, if the woman is interested, she's going to keep looking your way too. But it just, like, stays like that. Nothing ever happens. Because men don't walk up to women anymore. Or they're just tired of being rejected. But it's like, if God were to tell you that you're going to go through 20 rejections before you get to your yes, and that's going to be the love of your life, you guys would be so happy to go through all 20 because you would just so closer to the love of your life. Come on, guys, you guys gotta do better.
First, notice how she automatically assumes that the reason the guy isn't talking to her is because he's just not confident enough. Not because he's not interested, not because he has a girlfriend or a wife or whatever, not because he simply doesn't care to talk to her. No, the only explanation in her mind is that his masculinity must be broken. And that alone is a testament to how arrogant and entitled she is. She genuinely believes that just because she made eye contact, I guess, with the guy, he should drop everything and chase her, because apparently that's what real men do. It doesn't even cross her mind that he might not find her, well, that attractive. He might not want to talk to her. He might actually have standards of his own that she's not living up to. No, it's that if he doesn't walk up, again, it's a masculinity issue. And if these women really think that a guy just looking at them means he's willing to take them out and court them and do all this stuff for them, then I have led a whole lot of women on in my life, really without saying a single word. And this is one of those areas, right, where modern women love to play rule maker when it comes to what men are supposed to do. A man's duty to them: approach the woman, pay for the first date, protect me, lead me, pedestalize me, chase me, provide for me. You know, the list really never ends. Meanwhile, they themselves, they refuse to be held to any standard, to any expectation. No responsibilities, just total freedom to do whatever the hell they want, whenever the hell they want, while still expecting men to perform like these, like, romantic archetypes that they've absorbed from TV and movies, all these romantic comedies. They create this very similar type of man in these entertainment pieces, you know, like these TV shows and these movies. They usually paint these guys as givers, chasers, providers, cheerleaders, and unconditionally loyal cold approachers who never expect anything in return, because it's always her choice. It's always up to her what she wants, and it's always his job to accept it. But as I've mentioned over and over, and I've said before, these women are delusional about how couples have actually met throughout history. They continue to refer to some imaginary time, movies, TV shows, where men were constantly cold approaching strangers on the street, and they're acting like that was just ever the norm. And now that men aren't doing that anymore, something must be broken in them. And it just shows how far from reality this has gotten. There's no real interest in how relationships actually form. There's no curiosity about the truth. It's just recycled talking points that they hear from other women, and this like delusion they get from romantic comedies. And there's really no interest in like objectivity there, right? There's no real interest in the truth. And the thing is, like, subjectivity is a modern woman's best friend. It's all about her feelings, her truth. You know, objectivity, it gives them answers that are too binary, too structured, too logical. They don't want that, because it kind of threatens their narrative a little bit. And so, she says, like, if God guaranteed that your 20th person would be the love of your life, you'd be happy to be rejected by all 19 before that. And it's like, yeah, maybe, but that's not what's going on. What's actually happening is men are expected, I guess, to her, she expects them to cold approach dozens of women who are likely feminists, many of whom are rude when approached. They reject harshly and aren't remotely wife material. And I'm not trying to come off too black pill here, but that is the reality. Like, okay, are all women feminists, ran through, virtue rejecting, sailor mouthed, stripper dressed, bro behaving, divorce happy modern messes? No, but a lot of them are. And if they're not all of those things, chances are high there's some of them. And that's the environment men are told to throw themselves into blindly. Yeah, no thanks, woman. With your with your obnoxiously long fingernails, you're nagging me with your entitled attitude. You've got a knee-jerk impulse to belittle men's masculinity. I think I'll go ahead and not approach you and any other woman that looks and behaves like you. Keep making videos like this. See if that motivates any respectable man to walk up and introduce himself. Good luck with that. And she ends it here by telling men they need to do better, like she's some kind of female Joey Swole.
You need to do better.
Out here trying to correct men and lecture them on what masculinity is supposed to be.